Dia Guib Gaelacha Cordia August Fáilte Road. Welcome to be my guest with me, Mary Honan, on Lear Media TV, supporting the Samaritans, Limerick and Tipperary, Clare's Wish Foundation in Limerick, and Deal Animal Rescue in West Limerick. And I can't believe I spoke my little bit of Oscuelga in front of Orfhlaith Ní Bhriain, who
fair play, great Mary, fair play.
at Irish, but pronunciation is much better than the Irish at all. As you know, Orla, you actually wrote out my Irish for my exam. What about that?
Well, you were well able to say it. Ruguki Lundan who and the whole lot.
Ruguki Sasname. But yeah, I still know it off by heart, but still. Anyway, Orla, today is slightly different. I'm not asking you about the wonderful background in Irish dance that you have, because we spoke about that at a previous sitting. And you, gosh, I mean, you come from a dynasty of Irish dance, or dynasty, whichever way you want to pronounce it. But Orla, today we're talking about something, I suppose, that matters to the Irish dancing community really as a whole, especially in today's climate, and that is getting back to our Irish dancing classes. What is happening to try and get the doors? You see it particularly with the 40,000 that were at the GAA matches and the rugby matches, and you see them going home to their families and tackling each other and hugging each other, and two children can't go on a floor together and dance. And what is happening?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, Mary, we have been campaigning now. We've had a very tough 18 months of teaching on Zoom and teaching outdoors and teaching in multiple pods of one. And we've written in that space of time. We've been part of many lobby groups. We lobbied the Dáil, as you know, before Christmas. Teachers were part of the Let Our Children Dance campaign. What we have done most recently is we have collaborated with the PAEI, the Performing Arts educators in Ireland. And we have dancing teachers who are also members of that. So we have also lobbied government ministers on behalf of that, and I know there were some Irish dancers parts of the protest today outside the Dáil in Dublin and also in Cork. So we have done that, but we've also been, and we've another 200 letters were sent again from the Commission last weekend. So the lobbying has continued. We've met with relevant members from government parties and also opposition parties, because we're very conscious that we want it to be a fair and equitable society for everybody, that all the children in Ireland deserve to be treated the same, which is not happening at the moment. As you say, you have the children in the family who are playing sport whose needs are being served, and that's great, and I love that. As you know, I'd be one of the first into Croke Park myself if I can get a ticket next week, but that's not the point. The children for whom that is not their talent or their passion, or who want to play music and sing and dance, have really been left behind in this. And I think what's the most frustrating point from the point of view of An Coimisiún is that we haven't really been factored into the roadmap at all. So what we've been doing lately is really trying to agitate and trying to represent Irish dancers so that when it opens up, that we will be factored in again. Because for people who have a space or access to a space or their own studio, they can manage the pods of one. But many people in rural communities in Ireland are depending on local facilities, which the renters or maybe school authorities are afraid to rent out to them because it says dance class not allowed. So you have an inconsistency of messaging, which has been very, very frustrating for us.
And as well as that, I suppose it's everything. It's the insurance companies as well that are they going to insure people when they go back to their classes, and
well, I mean,
what is the situation with that, and will the government agree to letting dancing classes go back as normal? Because dancing classes aren't absolutely enormous. You can easily have 10 children inside in a class at a time, and you could have 2 on the floor together dancing. And we're the most socially distanced art form. And the culture is going to die out, Orla, if something isn't done, and if they don't see it as an art form.
Well, I think this is the time where we really do have to rally now, because, schools are reopening, and it is great that we are reopening, and we have played our part in curbing the virus. I mean, we weren't trying to, we're happy to do our duty, and absolutely we want to have the safety of our members. So we wanted our teachers and dancers to be safe, but we want them to be able to dance and perform and get out there and do what it is that they do. And as you know, it was a global lockdown, but really Ireland is probably the only place now where Irish dancing is not happening. So we had a situation last weekend where a teacher had to move an event from Donegal to Enniskillen. And all of that business went out of Donegal and into Enniskillen. No fault of the teachers. She did her absolute level best to have that event in Donegal, and it just wasn't possible. So this sort of inconsistency doesn't make any sense at all. And what we have done is, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there has been a new outreach and development committee set up by the Dancing Commission to take on really some of the fabulous energy that was done originally by the International Work Group, and to link that into the Commission. So to do that, and I suppose we have something positive to report in that we're having this Feis in the Park coming up this week, an outdoor event, and which will be fine if it's fine. But as you know, in an Irish summer in August, we could be singing and dancing in the rain, literally. But I have to say, we've partnered with Kerry County Council and also with Tralee Chamber of Commerce, and really without the interventions really, and the finance, and not just the finance, but the logistic support provided by Ken Tobin and Brian Carr, we wouldn't be able to do it. We just wouldn't. They are really, making this event possible in collaboration with CLRG.
It's on from the 19th to the 21st, isn't it, in Pearse Park?
That's correct. So I suppose what we decided to try and do this time was, rather than just keep saying what we couldn't do and what we weren't able to do, we wanted to put on an event that Irish children could be part of, and to give them something to aim for, something to focus, so that hopefully teachers could still get their dancers engaged in some way, rather than just in online activities, which were all very fine when we didn't have other options. But what we have done in this case is, and I know you're aware, some of our teachers locally, I know that have been working very hard in conjunction with the partners in Kerry to put on this event, but it has to be 3 days, because, as you know, we are bound by the laws of 200 people max outdoors at an event, and that includes the adjudicators, the helpers, the first aid, the musicians, the teachers, the dancers, the parents. So you
couldn't make it up, Orla. You couldn't make it up. No. In the night of watching, and we're like children looking in at a sweet shop, looking in the window of a sweet shop at 40,000, and you look at the Olympics, and you look at Wimbledon, and you look at the rugby matches, and you look at the 40,000 crowd, and they hugging each other, and we're limited.
And I have to say, as I say, we're more than willing to comply with whatever the public health guidelines are. So this event has been very strictly monitored. The amount of paperwork that has had to be done by that outreach committee and the focus group, it is incredible. Everything has to be filled out online. Everything had to be pre-registered. All the children have to be in pods. The venue is going to be emptied every hour. Really, really, really fastidious work, under the directorship of the chairperson, Orla McAnola. And I do know that Helen Green in particular has done a lot of work, and I know she'd be annoyed with me, but she has been sending out messages literally every time and updating people. Now, there is an army of people I know that on that committee that have worked, but I'm sure that they won't mind, because she has been the sort of, public face behind the text in doing that. So a lot of people have worked very hard to make that happen. And I suppose we're proud that we have a venue in Munster that's making it happen, and where we're absolutely delighted to welcome dancers from all over Ireland, who haven't been able to compete at all. Since there were almost 500 participants, which is fantastic in terms of it's a benefit to the town of Tralee, obviously. But I don't know if you've seen the signage. They've already put up the signs, they fall to go Tralee. So we're having, it's a way to promote the language, it's a way to promote the culture. It brings people and brings business back into the towns. Now they were very smart, really, because normally they would have the Rose of Tralee Festival, obviously, which due to public health guidelines, a festival of that scale, they weren't able to run for the second year in a row. But what they did do was they rescheduled their Park Festival from June to August, and we are part of this. And I think we have to really acknowledge the fantastic generosity of the townspeople and the council in Tralee for making this possible, because whereas any of us would like to be able to do it, it's just not everybody would be able without municipal support, to put on an event. And like we could probably run this event in a day, but it has to be run over 3 so that we can get people in safely. It's one parent, one child. Their other halves and their grannies and granddads will be walking the towns of Tralee and hopefully contributing to the local economy. But I think we want to highlight that whereas we're really happy to do this in August, like we can't continue into an Irish winter like this. We need to be indoors in the big venues that we have here.
But isn't it terrible, Orla, that what you said there earlier about the Feis having to be moved to a different province, if you like, and to a different country, if you like, if you're going to go that way, and you're moving from the south into the north, and that's okay to go to a Feis, but you can't go to a Feis in the south, just a couple of 100 yards maybe away.
Well, I suppose I would know that Ulster have been fortunate in, because of local laws, they have been able to run several events. But it also means that we haven't run any events at all in person in Munster, Leinster or Connacht. So as I said, we are delighted to be able to run something, and we wouldn't have been able to run it without that. And I think also, and we have asked people, to follow on from the PAEI messaging and to post their photos and pray for a sunny day. If we get a sunny day, it'll be splendid. But you know what? Even if we don't get a sunny day, it won't stop us, because these children were made to dance.
There'll be multiple Childs of Prague out on the windowsills. The tickets are only $2.50 for the Feis. They're subsidised under the 2021 Kerry County Council Community Support Fund. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been very fortunate, as I say, because it's made it accessible to people. And this is the other thing, is we want to level the playing field. We want Irish dancers from Ireland to be able to compete worldwide. And only for this event, like they've not had anything else within the last year and a half. And how are they going to get ready for All Irelands and Worlds in 2022 without events like this where they can actually get up on stage? So I think this event really is admirable because it's accessible, as you say, because it has that support, both financial, infrastructural, and massive COVID compliance regulations, which is not for the faint-hearted, because as you know yourself, having run an event, it's a lot of work to run an Irish dance event. Well, I can tell you it's a million times more work, and I really want to salute all the people who have been on that committee to run one in times of COVID and make it happen.
And it's been officially open. The whole festival is being open, and the Feis by Norma Foley, the Irish Government Minister for Education and local TD for Tralee. Is she worried in the slightest of turning up and being barraged with appeals for her to do something?
I'm hoping that she will see the educational benefit and the cultural benefit of this music, dance and language experience for all of those children. And it's something that we can highlight to other countries as well. I mean, Irish dance in Ireland has to be kept alive and kicking and thriving and supported by our government if it's going to continue to be strong in the future.
You're very much from the same, I suppose, I think we're on the same wavelength as far as Irish dancing is concerned. I feel we are. In that I see it as a cultural art form. And why is it so difficult for the government to find a position to put us in? We're neither sport and we don't seem to be dance. Why can't we be seen as what we are, either dance or cultural art form? Why is it so difficult for, number one, the Irish dancers to the schools to open up and the dancing classes to get back? And why does the government seem in general to be so resistant to allowing the arts in general back?
I would say as a sector, we have seemed to be very low on the priorities, with notwithstanding interventions by various senators and TDs who have spoken on our behalf. But I do understand that this has been a challenging time, and that, tough decisions have had to be made. But it's just not okay not to include this, because these children are the future, not just of Irish dance. Some of them could be professional Irish dancers. Some of them could have an educational, some of them could have part of an arts and health intervention. Like, this is a part of society. It's not just, yes, it's an event in itself that we can look at through a ritual lens, but it's also very good preparation for, future life. So I think what you said there is really interesting, because we dance with our bodies, and I've had hundreds of responses from as public representatives saying we have to follow the science. And I said, well, then show me the science. If the science says that we have to wash our hands 47 times and put Perspex glass along our studios, we'll do that. But we haven't been told that. We've just been told no dancing allowed. So you can put, you can hug whoever is beside you in Croke Park, when the flags are raised, but you can't dance at a wedding with your people from the next table.
If the science was there, Orla, then you're looking at Britain opened up, North of Ireland opening up, America opening up, and Ireland still in what I see as draconian measures. But you're out in the University of Limerick teaching on the...
but we've had to put very strict protocols in place. This is what I'm saying. The dance community are a disciplined community, and they are willing to put these... We put very strict protocols in place. We alternated groups so that they didn't cross over, and the dancing teachers are willing to do that. But it's unfair to expect them to dance outside in a field in the pouring rain and to compete with people in other countries who are back in their studios. It's just not realistic. And the other issue is that we're going into another September now when people are not going to send their 5-year-old into a field for Irish dance, but with a pair of palms on, and we're hoping they still will, but we really do need to get them back indoors. Back indoors in an acceptable way. For as I say, we're able to manage to a degree. We have very much welcomed the pods of one, which really has been useful, because we don't share equipment, as you know. It's very much, and we have completely stopped any of the the touching, any of the céilí, any of the group dances. So we've taken even a lot of the social elements out of it for the greater good. So it's not that we weren't willing to sacrifice. I think the thing is, and I think that's why so many people took to the streets today, is we want to be part of the roadmap. We want Irish dance to be up there as will be allowed. If 30 children can be in a prefab, learning school, then why can't 10 of them be in the hall of that same school?
And if 40,000 can hug inside in a stadium, why can't 8 do an 8-hand reel? It's the same 8 that are there all the time, the same 8 that are in the team, the same 8 who are actually in their pod, if you like. Those 8 or 16, depending on how many teams you have inside the class, could be in their own pods. None of it makes any sense to me, and it just seems like we were the arts were the very first to be shut down, and we're still struggling.
And you know what, Mary, I think beyond even just enjoyment and pleasure, I think that the spiritual enrichment that the arts can give to people's lives is sorely lacking, because we've had a very, very challenging time where there's been a lot of social isolation. I had the good fortune to be able to attend Mike Finn's play in the Pearse Park in Limerick. Now, we were there on a balmy night. It was absolutely beautiful. But, hats off to them. They put the play on in the park. We all walked around the park in our boots and our raincoats. But it made me think, like, we're missing those experiences together. In theatrical, in dance, in music context. You can have 100 people at a wedding, but you can't have live music. Music and dance have been really singled out for very, very poor treatment. If you look at a country that at the end of the 20th century, produced like Enya and U2, and the Cranberries. The Cranberries wouldn't be able to practice now. We're just not thinking. We are a country that has a lot of talent. We're not nurturing that talent. Not only are we not giving them the opportunity, but we're not even giving them an inkling as to when they might have the opportunity and how that they can recover. And as I say, it's all very well to have access to a big studio, but if you're depending on the community centre down the road from you, the chances are you're not going to be allowed in there.
But Orla, we're basically saying that the arts is non-essential. And when you look at what I was saying to you earlier, you're in the university, you're training future academics of dance, you're training future teachers of dance and masters, people doing masters and PhDs in dance. And they wouldn't get to the stage where they'd meet the Orfhlaith Ní Bhriains unless they had actually gone through the Irish dancing process, the competitions. There wouldn't be the river dances and the Lord of the Dances and the Feet of Flames without the Orfhlaith Ní Bhriains and the Maureen O'Rourke's and the Mary Honans of and so on of the world, slogging away in the dancing classes. And then the money that's brought into this country through the arts every year, because Ireland, as you say, is known for its richness in art, in the arts.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're terribly casual, and I know you were a professional entertainer yourself for many years. So, like, you know, we have represented our country, been very fortunate to do that in a lot of countries. But there is a certain sense of just being something that can be switched on. I mean, this is a craft that has to be developed and nurtured. And we've been fortunate enough that we had that opportunity, but we're not getting the opportunity to pass it on to the next generation. And that really has to be addressed now. It's really, really important.
I think it has to be addressed vociferously and really with strength and purpose, because when you see gymnastics opening up and you think, what is the difference? They're still, and I'm delighted gymnastics are opening up, but one is like constantly like looking in at a sweet shop thinking, oh, when is...
I think it's really important. We're not anti anything opening up. We want the arts to be recognised for the intrinsic value that they can give to Irish society. We want fair play. We want to be considered. We want to be visible. We want to be acknowledged that the arts not only have been important, but will be important for future on a participatory level, on a presentational level, you know. So, and I think that is really important that we do that. And it is sort of sad to have to see people who are professional performers have to take to the streets to get there. And I appreciate, like, we need agencies, we need the voices of yourself to highlight the voices so that we will at least get a fair ear. You know, I mean, the Minister for Children, like, what all of the children who are just not being allowed to do and don't seem to have, there doesn't seem to be any plan, you know, or any reference to how important it is for them. So it is very educational. It is also recreational, and maybe some ways it has too many benefits, and that's why it has fallen into the cracks, you know. So I think it is really time to have...
It's very good for one's psychological well-being. And there's nothing worse than the boundaries being moved and the goalposts being moved constantly. If you were told 18 months ago, this will be for 18 months, you could say, well, grand, this will be for 18 months. But the goalpost keeps being moved. And there doesn't seem, as you said, there doesn't seem to be any science behind anything. You're not told, oh, the reason we're doing this is because A, B, and C. And well, if that's the case, then why are all the other countries opening up?
And I mean, we've been very stringent. We've been very fortunate. We were able to operate under the Sports Ireland guidelines because it's a physical activity. We have also been following guidelines that the Arts Council worked on with Dance Ireland. So, like, all those guidelines are in place. People are willing to implement them. We just want the opportunity, you know, to reopen, and I suppose to have the importance of the arts in Ireland acknowledged.
Have you had any idea or any inkling of whether all the protestations and that are going to be successful?
Well, it's hard to know. It's hard to know in August because you do get quite a lot of out of office replies. But I'd have to say I'm hopeful more than confident. But at the same time, I'm determined that we will keep stepping on and making our voices heard and writing those letters. All I can say to you is, if I had a penny for every letter that was written this year, I'd be a very wealthy woman. And this is not about money, but it's about determination. And it's about, I suppose, you know, a community of practitioners getting the opportunity to get back in there and to start up again. Maybe
we should align ourselves with the GAA.
Well, then we definitely have. I mean, if you want to look at that, I mean, if Kelly Harrington was dependent on her dance training, she wouldn't have been able to do it, you know. But I mean, she does do dance training as part of her boxing. And I'm not taken from that. I think elite performers should be recognised, but also recreational practitioners are just important for their mental health. So I think, you know, on a number of levels, it's really important that, you know, the curtain is up now and that we're back on stage and that we're at least back on the menu, you know, and it's not just a no dance allowed. I mean, we're back in hedge school times. This is not okay. And it's time to take a stand.
Telling somebody they can have a wedding with 100 people, but you can't move between tables and you can't dance and you can't sing. Good luck with that when people have a few drinks taken.
Well, you see, I think, so I suppose that is the issue. And I mean, I do understand the difficult choices had to meet. I do get that. But the point is, I think we're now at a point where we have to learn to live with this virus.
I think 100%.
I don't think we can just wait until it goes away. And I think it means we've had some fairly pithy responses where people were just told retrain. That's not okay if you spent 20 years of your life already training, you know, retrain just because we're not prepared to move on this, you know. And I do know quite a few of my colleagues have retrained. You know, people have been very resourceful. People really tried. And I think I'm hoping this event in Tralee will bring a positive energy to, you know, what has been a very difficult 18 months, and that will herald that there are better times ahead for the Rinci Gaelacha. So I am delighted that we're on the front foot for once and that something is happening. I think people don't realize how difficult it is to get these things off the ground, but we are a very determined group of people who, I suppose, we have danced through, you know, times of war and times of recession before, and we will dance again. We want to do it safely, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we are included in the roadmap for the coming autumn.
We've given enough of our time. We've given 18 months, and I think it's bordering on barbarism to expect any people who are earning their living out of Irish dance or any form of dance or the arts. Tommy Fleming was on with me about 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, and I never saw Tommy. He was on with me before, and he was so upbeat, but he was really down at the fact that he said it'll take years, because he said the people that I hire to work my shows are the same group of people that work other people's shows. And by the time they get to all of us, it could be another 4 years, he said, before they're ready to do the sound or the music or the camera.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. The knock-on effects are really significant, and that's why I suppose we're hoping to generate as much publicity and as much visibility for Irish dancing as we can, so that Irish dancers will still be able to do Irish dancing. You know, we've led the way in it, and at the moment, where other countries are being allowed to do it, and really it's been made very, very challenging for people here to continue to deliver their dance.
We'll all have to all the arts will have to make a concerted effort, maybe, to get out on one particular day.
Well, I do think today, you know, the Action Day was a good day in that respect, in that it was you know, an energy gathering. You know, a way of actually gathering the energy together, and hopefully people will send on all of the letters that have been sent and continue to lobby, because there is an enormous power in that at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So I don't think any of us should sit on our laurels and say, I can't do anything. We can. We can write. And I don't know, if you looked at the letter we sent out, this is what you can do. You can, if you're able to go to Cork or Dublin, go to Cork or Dublin for the protest. If you're not, go to Tralee and tag yourself and post up, you know, curtain up on the arts and you know, let us dance. And I think that's important, and we have to do that. And I think rather than just resigning ourselves that there's nothing we can do, we have to act now, or we'll be left behind in September.
And from my point of view, if anyone wants to come on the show and talk about the effects of our the lockdown on them, you know, and on their schools, or how they feel about the lockdown on their classes, they're welcome to contact me. on info.
Well, Mary, we appreciate this opportunity very much, because I do feel that, you know, all of the people, for example, that are going to the Feis in the park are really ecstatic at having that opportunity. You know, only that we now have we'll have a strong Coimisiún presence at it, both all of the teachers and volunteers. The Cathaoirleach, James McCutcheon, is travelling to it. So, like, there is massive support for it. But on top of that, again, fair play to Kerry, because we couldn't have done them. I said we're going to have the toes of Tralee instead of the rows of Tralee for 1 year only, or literally go back to the days of the Kerry dances. And you know, Tasha on das foil to go Kerry to see the bit of language coming through as well. So, you know, we won't give up. We will keep going, and hopefully we will be back on track. Galua imi man for. So hopefully we're back on back. You know, the Irish will dance wherever and whenever and however, but really with our weather, it would be better indoors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Shindara Lesham Clor, that's the end of the show.
Until Mary.
Look, Kunub Day, but Wallam to Galir, Chicana, Sonas, August Gra, August Gadesh, Sloan, Orla.
Sloan, Mary, Gurmila.
Nabray.